also known as gaps. And we're going to be using a mini deck for the first time on this channel. I'm planning on using these mini decks for games that take more space than I have on this table when using a normal sized deck. This game requires you to lay out 13 cards side by side, and I don't have enough room for that when I'm using normal cards, so we're using the mini deck. And I have a few of these, so I figured I'd just show them because I didn't show them in my other video where I showed all my decks. So, these are the two bicycle minis. I got these pretty recently, just a couple days ago, and I actually have two of both of them. I haven't even opened the purple ones yet, but since I got two, we should be able to use them for multi-deck games. I also have this other mini deck. This is a much cheaper one. I'm not sure the brand, but the cards are a lot flimsier and just aren't as good quality. And I have two of these as well. You might see these sometime as well, but I'm probably going to mostly use the bicycle ones when I play games with mini decks, because those ones are just much higher quality. So, when we shuffle a mini deck, it can actually be quite difficult to do a riffle shuffle because the cards are so small. So what I usually do when I'm shuffling a mini deck is I opt to instead do a wash shuffle. And if you're not familiar, it's very easy. It's much easier than a riffle shuffle. You just spread the cards out, and then you spread them around like this. It's a lot less elegant than a riffle, but it is fast and effective. And maybe the sounds are nice too, I'm not sure. I'll have to see. So, Montana is the kind of game where the theoretical win rate is significantly higher than the practical win rate. By which I mean a solver can win this game almost every time, but a human player will struggle a lot of the time. And this is simply because the decision tree is so complex. There's so many paths you can go down, and each move you make affects all of the future decisions in a way that's kind of unpredictable. As a result, it's very difficult for humans to play this compared to a computer. Personally, when I try to use strategy in this game, and when I try to plan ahead all my lines, I usually end up doing about as well as if I'm just randomly moving the cards around. So I think for this video, we're just gonna keep it nice and casual. We're not gonna spend too long agonizing over each of our moves. We're just gonna play nice and easy, nice and quick. We'll make logical moves when we see them, but we're not gonna stress too much about it. So to deal out a game of Montana, you need to deal 4 rows of 13 cards each. And these are not overlapping rows like in many other types of solitaire. These are sort of like a grid. If you've seen my Monte Carlo video, it's kind of similar to that, except instead of a 5x5 grid, it is a 13x4 grid. So that's 13. Now let's move on to the next row. we begin, we need to take the 4 aces and remove them. The aces will not be used in this game, but it is important to keep them in the shuffle so that the gaps are randomly distributed throughout the playfield. So the goal of the game is to create 4 rows ordered from 2 to king in suit. So for example, at the start, we have the 2 of diamonds here already, so we're going to want to make the 3 of diamonds, the 4 of diamonds, the 5 of diamonds, all the way up to the king of diamonds. And we want to repeat that in each row with each suit. To do that, we have to move the cards around, and the rules for moving cards are that a gap may be filled by the card that is the same suit and 1 rank higher than the card to the left of the gap. So in this gap, we could move the 4 of hearts into here, and then that would move the gap over here. There are 2 special cases for these rules. The first involves the 2s. There is no number lower than 2, so 2s can only be placed in gaps that are on the leftmost column. So one of our 2s already started here, but to move the other 2s we have to create gaps in these positions, and that's the only spaces where 2s can be moved. Now it's worth noting that you can move 2s between gaps. So if I created a gap here, let's say, I could actually take this 2 and move it down here if I wanted to. That might not seem useful, but in specific situations it sometimes is. The other special case has to do with kings. There is no card higher than a king, so a gap to the right of a king cannot be filled. That is a dead space. So you continue making moves until all of the gaps are to the right of kings, and no more moves can be made. When you reach this blocked state, you may redeal the cards. To redeal, you take all of the cards that are not in order from the left side. So for example, if we had a 2 through a 5 sequence here, we would take all of the cards to the right of that sequence. And in the next row we would do the same thing. We would take the ordered cards and then take all of the cards to the right. You take all of those cards, reshuffle them, and then redeal them. And when you deal, you start each row to the right of the ordered sequence, leaving 1 open space between the ordered sequence and the new set of cards. So again, if we had 2, 3, 4, 5, we would leave a blank space here and then start dealing the cards from this position over to the right until we fill up the 13 cards. And you repeat that for all the rows. Now the traditional rule for this game is that you are allowed 2 redeals, and if you haven't won by the end of the second redeal, the game is over and you've lost. But we're going to be playing on sort of easy mode tonight, by which I mean we're just going to keep redealing the cards until we win. Now our goal is going to be to try to win in 2 or less redeals, but if it takes us more, we're just going to keep going until we win. So that's all the rules to the game, so let's get started. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do is, let's do this 4 here and see if maybe we can open up some space here in front of the 2. Let's take the 3. Let's do this. Move this queen here, the 7 here, and then the king here, and then the jack over here. Now we can move the 6 here, and we create a space here, but we're not going to fill it just yet. Instead, we're going to try to make more empty spaces over here on the left side. Let's move this 5 here, and then this jack over here, and we'll move the 7 and the 8. So now we can move the 3. Uh-oh, this was a bad plan, because look at this, we have so many spaces in front of kings. 3 of our gaps are in front of kings. Okay, but here we go. Look, we moved the king of clubs to here, and now we've got 2 empty spaces here. I didn't plan that out, that was just luck. But now we can take another 2, and we can also take a 3. I'm going to look to see if we can pick one that's not going to create an empty space in front of a king. Like, I'm not going to take this 2, for example, because that's a king right there. let's do this one. We'll do the 2 and the 3 of clubs, because that'll let us move these here. And I think generally it's usually good to try to get empty spaces on the left side if possible. Now we don't have any choice but to take the 9 and 10 here. We can move the king like this, and then move that, and then the jack, and the queen. That doesn't really help us though. Let's move this 8 over here. That'll make room for a 6. And if we do that, it makes room for another 2. If we move this here, then we can move a 6 here, making a space in front of the 2 and 3 of clubs. Let's move this 2 here, and then the 8 to here, and this 8 to here. And now we can take the 4 and 5 of clubs. I'm going to move this 10 to here, and this 7 to here. Now we move the jack here, and this 9 over here. That lets us move the 9 here, and now we can fill this with the 7 and the 8, and that opens these spaces for the 3 and the 4. Let's do the 9 and 10, and the 5 can go here. It's looking like I might have put myself in a corner though. We might still have some moves to make. Okay. Never mind, we actually have quite a bit we can still do. Move these hearts over here. The 8 and 9 here. Uh-oh, that was a bad move because now we just move these over and we have 2. It looks like we are done with our first deal because look, we have 2 empty spaces in front of the king here, 1 in front of the king here, and 1 in front of the king here. So we've got no more moves we can make. We did pretty good though. We completed the top row. This row is completely done, and then we got 4 cards in this row and 6 cards in this row. We got none in the bottom row, but that's okay. We still did pretty good. So now we take all of the cards that are not ordered, which means all the cards in the bottom row, all these cards in the second row, and all these cards in the third row. And I actually think that once you reduce the amount of cards that you need to shuffle, it actually becomes easier to riffle the mini cards. So we're not going to do another wash, we're just going to riffle them. It's still a little awkward, but it's less awkward than trying to do a wash in this little area over here. Alright. So, when we do the next deal, we deal it like this. We start 1 space. We leave 1 empty space in between the ordered cards and the newly dealt row. So, we start from there, and then we go to the end of the row. And remember, it's 13 cards, including the space, so we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And now we do the same thing on the row below. We leave 1 space, and then we deal the rest. And on this bottom row, we didn't have a single ordered card, so we just leave the space all the way to the left, and then we deal from here. Alright, let's see what we can do now. We can move the 2 here. The jack can go here. Let's do the 8 and the 9, and the 10 was already there. We'll move this out of the way. Move this 6 here, 7 to here, and now the 8 goes here. And let's put the jack and queen. Now this row is almost complete as well. Uh-oh, we're already almost out of moves though. I was a little bit sloppy. Oh wait, we can move this king to here. Let's move this 10. That lets us shift this over. This 5 can go here. Then we move this king out of the way. And then we go 6 here. I'm going to move this jack here. And then this 7. Then the 8. And then this, the 9. And then this 8. And then this 10, and then this 9. Now I think we're actually almost out of moves for the first redeal, because we just moved the queen and the king here. These are the only moves we have, and now once again all our spaces are dead. But we did pretty good. We still have some work to do on the bottom row, but we finished. Oh no, we didn't quite finish the third row, but it's close. So the unordered cards are these two, and then all these cards on the bottom row. We're almost done. If we get lucky with this last deal, we might be able to get a legitimate win. And it's kind of hard to riffle when you don't have so many cards left, so I'm not going to bother. We're just going to shuffle it like this. Okay, now we deal. Cross your fingers. Hopefully we get a nice deal. Oh, I got kind of off the grid. Okay, so how can we do here? Let's move this 10 here. And it looks like we're not gonna win. Oh, maybe. I don't know. This is gonna create an empty space here. And then we move the queen and the king. And now, yeah, all our spaces are dead again. So we did not win in the within 2 redeals. So we've lost. But like I said, we're gonna redeal again and just keep going until we win. So this is our 3rd redeal. It would be awesome if we can win one within the normal amount of redeals tonight, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's pretty hard. Okay. And I think we might have finally won. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. It only took us 3 redeals instead of 2, so that was very close to being a legitimate win. But this is what it looks like when you've won the game. 4 rows of 12 cards, ordered from 2 to king in suit. So that's game 1. And remember to put the aces back in before you reshuffle, because you need those aces so that the gaps are distributed randomly throughout the field. And once again, we're gonna do the wash. I'm curious what this sounds like. I know sometimes when I rub the table, it creates kind of a bad sound effect because the vibrations reach the microphone, so I hope it doesn't sound too bad. But I think the gentle clacking of the cards might be nice. Okay. And now this is the part I'm bad at. I've seen casino dealers after they wash. They're so quick at getting the cards back in order, but I have a really hard time with it. I don't know how they do it so quickly. Okay. Let's deal out game number 2. I don't know if you can see, but there's like just enough space for me to deal this out in a row with the mini cards. So you can imagine if these were full-size cards, I would just not have enough space for this. Mini cards are very useful if you want to play Solitaire, but you don't have a lot of table space. I highly recommend getting them if that's a problem you encounter. And they're not too expensive either. We take the aces to create our gaps. And let's begin. We started with another 2 in the left side. Let's start with this. It looks like our options are actually pretty bad. It's all high cards that we're moving, and I think that can sometimes create problems. Or at least that's how it seems to me. I have no clue what the actual strategy is for this game. Like I said, when I try to use strategy, it's not very effective for me. This is mostly a luck game for me. But it's theoretically very winnable consistently if you are a computer. That was very surprising to me when I found that out. Apparently, computers can win 85% of the deals without even using a redeal. And then once you include redeals, it goes up to about 100. We've got an open space for a 2. Uh-oh. I think we're already out of moves. Just the 2 is going to be what saves us. Okay, let's see if we can strategically pick a 2 that's not going to get us stuck. Because here's the problem. We move this 8 to here. That's a king. We move this king to here. That's a king. We move this 6 to here. That's a king. So our only space that does not lead to a king is this 2. So let's pick a 2 carefully. We're not going to do this one. Because if we take this 2 to here, you move the 4 to here, and then the 6 to here, and that open space goes here. You have to move the king, and then it's a king. So this 2 is no good. We're not going to do that one. What about this one? We move this 2 to here. The jack goes here. Jack of hearts goes here. This can move here. I'm not going to bother thinking ahead more than that because that's going to start to cook my brain, but that looks good to me. So let's do that. There we go. We get another space. Uh-oh. I think we've run into the same problem. We've got this king again. This 3 just creates a space here, which this 6 and 7, it's the same problem. I think all roads lead to a dead end, unfortunately. Yeah, there we go. That's it for our first deal, and we did not do nearly as well in our first deal as we did last time. 3 cards on the bottom row, 1 card in the third row, and that is it. So, not as nearly as successful of a first deal as our first game. And I think we are just going to do the wash this time because we barely reduced the deck at all. stuck on the top, you want to make sure you cycle them above and below. And you want to make sure that all the cards are getting caught in the wash. You're not leaving any stuck on the sides. That's the key to an effective wash. Just making sure that all the cards are moving. Alright, so our second deal, which is not looking very promising. Looks like I left a little too much space in between them. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, I didn't leave a space, so we'll just do that and then shift everything over 1. Okay. Let's see if we can salvage this somehow. If I do this, we can get this king up in the corner. And I think that's a good thing, because if the king is in the corner like this, then it can't create a problem. In theory, anyways. I don't know if the logic actually ends up working out like that. Which one do we pick? Let's do this one. I think this would have happened regardless of which one we chose. Okay, now we've got 2 spaces up here. Let's move this up here and then shift these over. And take this and this. Now we can either start the spades, which would be here, but that would create some dead spaces, because then the queen and the king, and then the dead space here. Or we could move the 2 down and then go with the hearts. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna move the 2 down, then take the 3 and the 4. Move this like that. Gives us a 7. Uh-oh. We're getting a lot of dead spaces now. Oh wait, we can move this here, at least for the time being. We'll move this 7, and now we get 10, Jack, Queen, King, which leaves us with a dead space, but actually, this seems pretty bad now that I'm looking at it. I don't know. We'll see how far we get before we get blocked. But it looks like not very far. And I think we're now blocked because we have 3 3 empty spaces here and 1 here. Alright, end of the first redeal. We still are not doing too good. We do have a... No, that's not finished, because it goes 7 and then 10. So we have 6 cards in the top row, 3 cards in the second row, 4 cards in the third row, and 4 cards in the bottom row, and we've only got 1 redeal before we lose officially. Alright, our second redeal, so that's 7, so this is 6, 7, 8, or 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Whoops. Oh, why do I keep dropping cards? Okay, let's see where we go from here. I think I'm gonna do this and get that king out of the way. And we'll take the 5. That jack gets out of the way as well. And I don't think we're gonna be going for very long if I am reading the situation correctly. Oh wait, maybe a little further than I thought. Look at this. I'm gonna wait to make that move. I like the king being here. It's nice and cozy, knowing that it cannot create any dead spaces, but I am gonna have to move it eventually. There's a dead space. Uh-oh. I think we're done, because we have to move the 9 and 10 here, creating 3 dead spaces here, and then we move the king here, and that creates one final dead space. So the game is over on our second redeal. Like I said, we're gonna continue again, see how many it takes to win, but that is an official loss. We're pretty close though. Okay, so I accidentally forgot to take a few cards when I did the redeal, so I just cut that out. We're just gonna redeal again. Always double check your sequences. I had 5, 7, 8, I think, something like that. But it was not 5, 6, 7. By the way, if you have any tips on how I could improve my strategy in this game, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't find it annoying when people leave comments nitpicking my play. I actually really appreciate it because I'm always trying to get better. So, if you have criticisms, let me hear them. I will gladly accept them. this here. Now we can go 7 and 8. I think we are done. At least we're definitely not going to win on this deal because we've got the king here in front of the 7 and the 8 in front of the queen. We would need to swap these two cards in order to be able to make any progress, but we don't have any way to do that, so this deal is definitely not going to win, but we'll see how many cards we can get in order before we block. And it looks like not too many. Because 1, 2, 3, oh wait, okay, and 4. So 4 dead spaces. Once again, we are done on this deal. So this will be redeal number 4. We're getting pretty close. And there aren't really enough cards to riffle this time, so we're just going to do a simple overhand shuffle. Alright. Okay. Wow, it looks like we're gonna get blocked really fast on this one. Yeah, we're already blocked. So this will be redeal number 5. But we finally got a completed row at least. And we'll move the 9, 10. This goes here, this goes here. And we're blocked again with only 2 cards left. And we're not even going to bother shuffling them. I'm just going to count it as another redeal. And we're going to say 5 redeal, or I guess 6 redeals. So that was not nearly as good as the first game. And we didn't even win the first game. Or at least didn't win according to the 2 redeals rule. So this last game will be our last chance to get a legitimate win. My odds in this game are pretty bad, so I don't think I'm going to be able to win. I actually haven't been recording my stats with this game for some reason. Usually I do, but for some reason when I've been playing this game I keep forgetting to write down my wins and losses. So I actually don't know what my win rate is when playing with cards. On the Ultimate Solitaire collection, I think it's like 1 in 7. Okay. Game number 3. Our last game. Will we get an actual win? after that, I might do a no talking video. And then after that, I think it's about time for our third special video. So the first one we did flower garden. The second one we did free cell. And I'm thinking for our next special video, we're going to finally play Klondike. It's been a long time that I've been doing videos on this channel. Well, only a few months, but it's felt like a long time. And we have not yet played the most popular solitaire game ever. But I think our next special video is going to be focused on Klondike and Klondike variants. So, we will finally play it. All three games we've started with 2s on the left side. That's kind of funny. Here, we can do this to open up another space on the left. There we go. Let's see if we can open up any more. We can open the space to the right of this 2 of clubs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move the 2 of clubs down here, and then the 2 of diamonds over here. And that lets us move the 6 to here, and open up another space for a 2. Now let's do this. I'm going to move the 2 and the 3 down here, and then I'll take this 2, and then the 3, and 4. Look at this top row, it's going pretty well. We can open up our last space for a 2. Unfortunately, that creates a dead space. But we can still make some more moves. Wait, why'd I do that? I meant to do this. Okay. Alright. This is actually going pretty well. Look at this huge sequence we're going to be able to make on the bottom here. I hope this doesn't create a whole bunch of dead spaces, though. And we can do this. 4. Uh-oh. We might be dead soon. Okay, we still get some more cards in our sequences. And even more. Oh, this is such a good first deal. Oh, it looks like we might be out of luck now. Yep, that's it for our first deal. We've got 2 dead spaces here, 1 here and 1 here. But we did pretty good. We've got almost a complete row on the top. We've got 7 cards on the bottom, 6 cards in the second row. This third row is the only row that didn't do too well. So, let's gather the cards. This game might have a chance if we're lucky. It's certainly doing much better than that second game did. That wasn't a very good riffle. Let's try again. That was a little better. Okay. lopsided here. Let me see if I can fix it. This so we can put this king in the corner, although that just created a dead space here, so I probably shouldn't have done that so hasty. Uh-oh, I think this is bad. Okay, wait. No, I don't think we can win on this deal, but it's only our first redeal. I think we're already almost done. Yeah. 2 spaces here, 2 spaces here. All dead spaces. Alright, we actually did not really manage to accomplish much on that second deal. That's a little concerning. I'm scared. I would be so excited if we won on this last deal. But I'm trying not to get my hopes up. Okay. Our last chance at a win tonight. Not a big fan of this. Well, this completes that row. Let's get this king on the right side. Again, I don't even know if that actually helps at all. Uh-oh, I think we're done. Yep. Darn. No wins tonight. There might have been a way to do that. We have 2 complete rows, but the second and third rows were not completed. So, that's it. We're gonna have to do another one. Oh, I missed this one. That's a shame. I would have liked to get one tonight, but like I said, my odds in this game are pretty bad, and I don't feel like agonizing over every move for 10 minutes to try to see the exact consequences of each move I make. That just takes too long and doesn't even seem to increase my chances by very much, but that's probably a skill issue. Okay, well, we can do this. And take that. And now the third row is complete. And we take that, and there we go. Our third redeal is blocked. And since it's just the 2 cards again, I'm gonna do what I did before, and I'm just gonna flip them and say 4 redeals. So that was our Knight of Montana. I think our first game was 3 redeals, our second game was, I believe, 6, and our third game was 4 redeals. So unfortunately, we did not win any according to the traditional rules of 2 redeals. But we might come back to this game sometime, if you would like to see it again. as always, if you have a solitaire game that you'd like to see me play on this channel, just let me know. This one was actually a request. So thank you so much for requesting it. I had fun playing it. I hope you enjoyed it. You can also watch, I have a video showing all my decks that I have. And if you'd like to see me use a specific deck from those, just let me know and I'll use it in a future video. Alright, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good night. And yeah, thanks for watching.